Imagine paying $196 for a single pound of coffee. Not in today's money, actual $1865. In one part of the country, the price climbed to $250. That's what plain ground coffee cost during the American Civil War, and people got desperate enough to do something a little unhinged. They started roasting acorns, beets, toasted cornmeal, even burnt rice, anything that might trick the tongue into believing it was still tasting the real thing. And the strangest part? One of those wartime fakes became so beloved that an entire American city flat out refused to give it up. You've probably tasted it without ever hearing the story behind it. Walk into a cafe in New Orleans today and order a café au lait. That dark, smooth thing in your cup isn't all coffee. There's a roasted root hiding in there, a bitter weed that grows in roadside ditches. And the only reason it's in your cup is a naval blockade that nearly cut the South off from its caffeine for good. Let me take you back to 1861. The Union Navy throws a blockade around the port of New Orleans, which at the time was the second largest coffee importer in the entire United States. Overnight, the ships stop coming, and the math turns brutal fast. A pound of coffee that used to run about $1.20 rockets to $196 by the end of the war. Coffee became something you'd practically guard with a gun. So people improvised. There's an actual letter from a woman in Arkansas who bragged that she'd stretched her dwindling coffee with toasted cornmeal for 2 weeks straight, and her dinner guests swore they couldn't taste the difference. Whether they were just being polite, well, history stays quiet on that one. But one substitute crushed all the others, and almost everyone gets its origin story wrong. Most people assume the Civil War invented chicory coffee. It didn't. By the time New Orleans started roasting chicory root, that trick was already 200 years old. The French had been doing it for generations, and Napoleon is the reason it caught fire. When he locked down Europe with his Continental blockade in the early 1800s, coffee disappeared from French shelves too. So the French roasted and ground chicory root, the long taproot of that pale blue roadside flower, and stirred it into whatever real coffee they had left to stretch it. Go back even further and you'll bump into Frederick the Great of Prussia in the 1700s, who openly tried to push his people off imported coffee to stop money draining out of the country. That nudge helped cement chicory in the German cup for good. So when New Orleans reached for chicory, nobody was inventing anything. They were inheriting a survival hack the French Acadians had carried into Louisiana long before the first cannon fired. Now the story jumps across an ocean, because if you think the Confederates were desperate, wait until you meet the Germans. During World War I, the Allies blockaded Germany the same way the Union blockaded the South, and the Germans, being thorough, churned out thousands of substitute products for everything they could no longer import. They even had a single word for the whole concept, ersatz, which just means substitute. Their fake coffee blended roasted chicory with acorns and beech nuts, and the nickname they gave it is too good to skip, Muckefuck. Sounds filthy in English, but it's actually a butchered version of the French Muckefuck, meaning fake coffee. Here's the detail that sticks with me, though. When captured British and American airmen ended up in German prison camps during World War II, this ersatz coffee was exactly what their captors handed them morning after morning. The prisoners loathed it so much that when they came home, they dragged that German word ersatz into English as a straight-up insult. To this day, calling something ersatz means it's a cheap, sad knockoff. A whole word in our language born from bad coffee. Quick detour, because it gets even rougher. Over in the Pacific, American troops who'd run out of literally everything would scorch white rice until it turned black, then steep the burnt grains in hot water and call it breakfast. Burnt rice coffee. Soldiers will do almost anything for the feeling of a hot, dark, bitter cup in the morning. So far, this is all a story about scarcity, people choking down sad imitations because they had no choice. But the real twist happened in America, in peacetime, with no war anywhere in sight. In 1895, a man named C.W. Post was recovering at the Battle Creek Sanitarium, that famous health resort run by the Kellogg brothers. While he was there, he soaked up their belief that caffeine was poison. So Post created a drink out of roasted wheat bran and molasses, brewed it like coffee, and called it Postum. And his genius move was the angle. He didn't sell it as a sad backup plan, he sold it as the upgrade. His slogan, which he wrote himself, was just 3 words: there's a reason. Postum didn't need a blockade to sell. It ran entirely on the idea that maybe the thing in your morning mug was quietly hurting you. By 1911, he turned it into an instant powder, and when World War II rationing hit and Americans couldn't get their coffee, Postum sales went through the roof. It became the #1 coffee alternative in the country. Which brings us to the question you've been waiting for. The blockades are ancient history. Coffee's on every corner now. So why do some people still pour the so-called fake stuff and swear it's actually better? Pour yourself something and let me walk you through it, because this is where it stops being a history lesson and starts being useful. Take chicory, the New Orleans hero. 100 grams of fresh chicory root carries roughly 68 grams of a fiber called inulin. That makes it one of the richest food sources of inulin on the planet. And inulin is a prebiotic, which means it's the food your good gut bacteria feast on. So that bitter wartime stretcher is quietly feeding your microbiome with every sip. Researchers have linked it to smoother digestion, steadier blood sugar, and lower inflammation. It's also completely caffeine-free, so no jitters, no pounding heart, and best of all, no 3 p.m. crash where your soul tries to leave your body. There's a flavor reason too. Chicory and these roasted grain brews carry far less acid than real coffee. If a strong cup of joe gives you heartburn or a sour stomach, these tend not to bite back the same way. One New Orleans roaster says roasted chicory adds sweetness and a thick, almost syrupy body, and he thinks it makes a flat-out superior iced coffee, not a watered-down version, a better one. Now, I'm not going to oversell it because that's not what a real friend does. Drink too much chicory, and that same inulin that's doing all that good work will throw a party in your gut you never agreed to. Gas, bloating, and a mild laxative kick if you really go overboard. If your stomach is sensitive or you've got IBS, ease into it slowly. The amount matters as much as the ingredient. So, let's say I've sold you, and you want to try the drink that outlasted 3 wars. Here's how it's actually done. For chicory, you take the roasted ground root, which you can buy already roasted, and you brew it exactly like coffee. Drip machine, French press, espresso, doesn't matter. For a classic New Orleans cup, blend it with regular grounds, somewhere around 70% coffee to 30% chicory. Then cut the whole thing with an equal pour of hot, scalded milk. That's your café au lait. Want it fully caffeine-free? Just brew the chicory on its own. Acorn coffee is the true survivalist version, and there's one step you absolutely cannot skip. Raw acorns are packed with bitter, mildly toxic tannins, so you have to leach them first. Shell them, then soak the nut meat in repeated changes of water until the bitterness washes out. Then dry them, roast them dark, grind them, and brew. The payoff is a nutty, surprisingly rich cup. And if you ever track down a tin of Postum, read the label, because this one trips people up. It has to be boiled, not just steeped in hot water. A teaspoon or 2 into hot water or milk, stir it hard or froth it, and you've got that toasted, malty cup that comforted a whole country through a world war. Here's the thing I keep circling back to. We assume necessity only hands us junk, the cheap fix you tolerate until the good stuff comes back. But every single one of these drinks outlived the crisis that created it. New Orleans never let go of its chicory. Germany still drinks grain coffee. Postum got discontinued in 2007, and devoted fans signed petitions until it came roaring back in 2012. Scarcity didn't just teach people to cope, it accidentally handed them something they decided was worth keeping on purpose. Makes you wonder what else we'd stumble onto if we ever ran out of the things we swear we can't live without. If this video was informative, comment yes below. That's what motivates us to keep making more videos like this. And while you're down there, tell me which one of these wartime brews you'd actually be brave enough to try.